Say they've made substantial gains in the battle for Muammar Gaddafi's hometown. They claim that half of Sirte, including key installations, is now under their control. Tony Bertley is in Sirte live for us. Tony, what will it take to actually take the city, to secure Sirte?
Well, I think you mentioned more than half of the city is now in the hands of fighters loyal to the NTC. They say actually they've got something like 70%, but the remaining 30% is built up areas. This is going to require street fighting, and the last few days the fighting has been the sound is really strong here, but the fighting is very intense because they're going at it now very, very strongly, but there's a strong resistance from Gaddafi forces. And as I found with Cameron Jamil Basil when we went to the front line, the resistance is very strong and it's continuing.
And Tony, obviously always the concern about civilians and what's been done about, getting them out or to field hospitals if necessary. This is a real concern for the NTC, because the more people who are wounded, the harder it'll be for them to unite the country, won't it?
Yes, I think, with every wound, with every death, I think those divisions are going to cut deeper. And at the moment, there's something like a de facto ceasefire going on in Sirte behind me, because they want the remaining civilians to come out of their own free will. And before this fierce battle resumes, and it is fierce, and it's going to get fiercer because as I said in the report, the Gaddafi loyalists have nowhere to go and they're fighting for their very lives. So I think this is not over yet. We're not exactly sure that the NTC fighters will take control by the end of the week, but if they do, there will be a cost to be paid.
We know that they say that once they get Sirte, then they've got the country, but isn't that a bit premature, because Muammar Gaddafi is still nowhere to be found?
I think yes, but this is, basically step by step, and this is a very important step, I think, for the NTC, because I think they will declare the war almost over when this happens, because they will have full control of the land and sea borders, and then they can progress with getting an interim government. There's still one remaining stronghold of Bani Walid, but that's completely surrounded and doesn't actually give the opportunity of Gaddafi loyalists to escape. So in time they see them coming over to surrendering. But, at the moment it's very important. They've got to get on now with the process of rebuilding the new Libya, getting the process of elections in place and a new government, and they think now when Sirte goes, that can begin to happen.
OK, Tony, let's get you out of that sandstorm. Tony Bertley.
Inside the hospital, there are also thought to be several fighters as well inside the hospital. A team from the International Red Cross has just arrived here. They're assessing the situation. They will separate the civilians and the fighters. The fighters both will be treated for their injuries. But as you can hear from behind me now, there's a lot of fighting going on, mainly shelling and firing from the anti-Gaddafi forces into the town itself, where there are said to be 300 or 400 pro-Gaddafi fighters holding out.
There is a long delay on the line, but just let me quickly ask you, is there any idea of just how many fighters are there, Gaddafi fighters, and how many civilians are caught up in all of this?
It's difficult to assess the number of fighters, certainly several hundred. In terms of civilians, this is a city of more than 100,000 people. Some of them have left. There's been a lull in the fighting in recent days, allowing them to leave. The problem is that many of them are very pro-Gaddafi, and others have been warned that they can expect some retribution on the outside. So not as many civilians have been leaving the city as one would have liked, certainly not as many as the aid agencies would have liked, and they are very concerned now for the conditions of civilians inside Sirte itself.
OK, we're at Davis.